More trouble for Duke University athletics. The former Blue Devils basketball star J.J Redick arrested on charges of driving while impaired. According to court, and there he is. According to court documents, Redick was released on bail, his license taken away for 30 days. He's due back in court in mid-July, a couple of weeks after the 2006 NBA draft. As you know, he was last year's Associated Press Player of the Year, or if you didn't, you do now. He's projected to be a very high first-round draft pick. Wow. A Duke law professor is now saying he wants a special prosecutor to handle the Duke lacrosse rape case instead of the district attorney Mike Nifong. The professor in this case, led the university's investigation into the lacrosse program, and now this statement, well, it carries some weight. He says that he has no confidence in Nifong and that he does not think that the DA is showing detached judgment in the case. With us now from Boston, the criminal defense attorney Geoffrey Nathan, and here in Studio B, former prosecutor Arthur Idala. Geoffrey, how do you remove, does this mean anything?
Oh, absolutely. This is overwhelming. This shows that someone who's got a rational basis for looking at the facts is saying, we got to get rid of this DA because he blew it. And as a matter of fact, it's about time that someone stepped up to the plate in this case and said just that, because I'm sick of the pandering this prosecutor
Geoffrey, a rational basis? He's a professor at Duke. Don't you think he has somewhat of an interest in the outcome of this case? Don't you think he has an interest in his people being cleared in this case? As you know...
He's not elected. Arthur,
no, he's not elected. But he works at the school.
But how can you remove him? I mean, what does this mean?
There is something. The governor can remove a district attorney if the governor believes that he's not abiding by the law.
But we don't know what the evidence is yet. We know some of the evidence.
Correct.
We don't know all of it, right?
Or if he has he should remove himself if he has a personal interest. If it's his son, his cousin, his nephew, or someone approaches him in an inappropriate way. There is no reason for him to be removed here. It's just another grandstand. It's another way to keep this case in the media and in the headlines, is to make a stupid statement like this.
I don't know. A lot of people have told me they don't. You hear both sides. But honestly, a lot of people have said, I don't see any evidence from this Nifong.
Correct. And if he's wrong, he's wrong. And he's allowed to be wrong. Everyone's wrong in their
but why should he be so wrong, Arthur, so blatantly wrong as to be able to trash a bunch of college students' professional lives, the rest of their lives? They're always going to be rapists, you know, Arthur. Even when the case gets dismissed,
and
they're still rapists.
All the time. It just doesn't get in the headlines because it doesn't happen in the Ivy League schools. But it happens in Brooklyn, New York, day after day, and all overwhelmingly that these are innocent people. Get rid of the prosecutor, fire them, get rid of them. The legislature should act, the governor should act. They just had an excellent opportunity to fire him.
They had an election.
They had an election. And if they wanted to fire him, if his constituents wanted to fire him, all they had to do was pull the little lever. And they did in his favor. So obviously, everyone in that town is not as outraged as everyone outside of that town is.
Everyone who's innocent should be outraged, and a lot of people in the United States are innocent of charges for which they're investigated and then arraigned. And in this particular circumstance, it just goes to show, Arthur, how little evidence there really needs for the government to indict someone and then ruin them.
Look, at the end of things, the second woman who was there at the night of the party originally said the whole thing was a crock.
Correct.
That there never was a rape, that they were together all the time, it didn't happen. The DNA evidence, that's from her boyfriend. There's nothing. I mean, they got, that we know of at least, there's nothing. Every single bit of evidence is exculpatory.
But there's her word.
And there's her word. All right, you have that.
Millions of cases go to trial on one person's word.
And that's where I was going next. Thank you, Arturo. Because is this a revelation to some Americans that this sort of thing happens every day? And at least for now, I mean, I don't know who did anything, but everything we've seen is exculpatory.
And it happens every day, thousands of times. It's one person says, he did it, and sometimes there's 5 people that say he didn't do it. And you know what happens in those cases? They go to trial. And some people get exonerated, and some people don't. And it's the best system in the world, but it's not a perfect system.
Geoffrey, is this one that if, in fact, there is no other evidence and nothing happened here along the lines that she claims, is this the one that gets America riled up, or do we just sit around again and say, oh, well, that's how it goes?
Oh, I would hope America would be very concerned about the abusive process in a case like this. As I said, it just goes to show you how little evidence it takes to charge somebody. And then you got to fight like mad to get a not guilty. But the question that was asked a long time ago was, where do they get their reputations back when it's all said and done?
But that's just the nature of the beast.
It may be the nature of the beast, but it's a fair question. You're about to have a baby. It happened to your young son.
I'd be terrified, I'd be mortified. Yeah. However, unfortunately, that's the way it is.
Well, we'll see how it ends up. I mean, we don't know what happened yet. Hopefully we find out. Thank you.